Alright, good evening everyone. Welcome to Dark Helmet Racing League's Season 7, Round 4. We are at Sebring tonight with a wet sprint and a drying feature, which can cause some chaos. I'm pretty sure we had accidents on the front straight for the sprint, so let's go get into it. Alright, so this one is a little bit more of an awkward situation. At first, it does look like the Corvette kind of moves into the Aston, which clips the Porsche, which is what happens. But what the cause of it all is these two cars ahead of the Corvette lifting. The Lamborghini here, 2 cars up, lifts pretty heavily. Green car has to lift. Corvette moves over to avoid, barely clips the Aston, which kind of sends it just over into Porsche, and then the light contact on the straight with a bit of net code causes the Porsche to spin. So it sucks. Um, but is it really anybody's fault other than a stack up on a start in the rain? Not really. That's all it is. It's could there have been things done differently? Yeah, but we're all not perfect here. I think this one I'm just gonna have to leave as a racing incident. Unfortunately. You can just watch it through just to make sure that there wasn't anything else happening. But for sure, everyone just kind of is at the back of the field once this all finished, and there's nothing to impede, so we're all good there. On the next one, pretty damaged car here from that incident. So pretty undrivable. Action. 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 Nice recovery. So lots of positions lost here. There's at least 4, but the redress was nice. It was that got into him. Brandon and the voice chat, there was definitely talk about this, so they were being nice to each other here, trying to get it going again. So I'm just going to leave this one as noted for both. It was a good redress. Try not to get into each other like that and lose all those spots, but the sportsmanship was nice, and in the grand scheme of things, it's minor contact, and it all just stems from being in the rain and probably couldn't see his brake markers because of the other car being there. Yep, so we'll leave that as that. Nice rejoin. Getting good at that. I thought you were going to do it again. Action. Runner with a 2. Out of P2. Slaps the wall. Little dicey on the rejoin, but lots of room for everyone still. Would prefer not to see a car 90 degrees to the racing surface, just off racing line, but if he would have gone over that white line, I would have been more inclined to do something. But if we go look at everyone that just passed there, I don't think any of them really changed their line. Well, actually, we're going to do something on it. We're going to do a one-pointer. Because he does brake hard and have to steer. So, to be consistent with our stuff from the other week, that's what we'll do. The driver of the 53. Unsafe rejoin for 1 point. Okay. And that was the end of the race for everyone. Okay, then we go into the warm up. So only one incident for the feature or for the sprint, which is awesome. One that was close to something but nothing, and the one on the start. So really, really good job by everyone to get out of that pretty unscathed. Chase, car chase. Check something real quick. Okay. That. And so let's get into the feature here. So we have another start line incident, but I think Jeff was on that slicks, if I remember right from the beginning of this. So it's probably just, yeah, as soon as he gets on it, just turns him into the wall. He's doing a good job just trying to stay out everyone's way and goes the bits, gets the right tires, I think. No action on that. All right, let's watch that one through again. You gotta keep in mind the track's still damp at this phase. We're lap 1 still. And here, the Porsche is right up on the white, or on the yellow line in this case, but not against the curve. The Acura comes across and just ever so slightly makes contact wheel to wheel, which spins the Acura. So this is on the Acura, and he got the worst end of the stick on this. So I'm just going to leave this as a racing incident for that. And Mitch. Probably should make sure the rejoins on that first one were fine, just to be consistent. They both go off track, so that one is fine. And the Porsche looks like he joins wide through here. Yeah, he did as much as he could stay out of that. Not the greatest position, but basically is staying off the track, because remember, this line on the edge of the curb is the race surface. So he's still off track and still rejoining at this point, but I'm fine with that. Not going to do anything about that because it's a car that was spinning, probably. It's off the racetrack, so can't say he did any unsafe rejoin here because he hasn't rejoined the track. The other car just kind of lost control. It was off track at the same time, so nothing happened there. And both rejoined nicely. No action. No action. Gosh. We're only in lap 2, so everyone's still tiptoeing quite a lot. But nothing there. This is no action. Just little front to rear contact, mid corner. There's nothing there. Fortunately, I think this gave Brandon his warning at this point because he already had the other contact. So, no action. And it does suck when somebody gets a warning for everything that's out of control, but everyone has the same equal opportunity here. So we had that last season, and it played out again this season. Just the unfortunate part of how we do our 4Xs here. Action. Heavy damage. Good job on the deciding to tow on that one. That was almost like a glove moment. It's like he's trying slicks at this point. Not sure why the rear bumper fell off. That's iRacing for you. Alright, so is Todd going off caused by this? No. Todd was spinning on his own. So no action. And then make sure Todd rejoins safely. They're both on slicks at this point. No action. Ouch. Touched the grass. I was afraid I was going to do that about 18 times in that race. We only did 19 laps, so almost every lap. No action. And then this is what gave Brandon his drive-through. Let's see if this one is anything on him. And such a bad iRacing call on that one. That's what iRacing gave a 4X for? Really? Like the first one for sure 4X, it's bottom. Second one 4X because of the stack up. It's pretty consistent with other stuff, but that's a 4X iRacing? I don't think so. But unfortunately, that gave Brandon his drive-through. And like for Potts here, it didn't really do anything wrong. That's just racing. That's unfortunate. Action. This one, I think Caesars got deep on the brakes. ABS'd out and touched. There's nothing there. Action. Rick. Rick with a little self spin. Action. No action. Oh, another. Must have touched that puddle. That really wasn't. Yep. Again, I felt like I was going to do that a bunch of times in that race. That sucks. No action on that one. And we get into some beating and banging. Alright. So this one is awkward. Because I believe this is after the pit stops. This is a battle for what would be the lead between the Mercedes and the Aston. And if we run it back even farther, I think they're battling for the last few corners. Well, not exactly. But if we go look at the positions, we have currently Ricky's in 12th, 11th, that's 9th, that's 8th, that's 23rd. So Mark is the only car here that isn't really for position. The reason why I'd go check that is to see if any of these cars needed to give way, which at this point none of them have to give way. It's still 4 position. Just beware that you're not necessarily racing these people. They're on different strategies, so keep that in mind when you're racing, that if what was the leaders are coming back through after a pit stop, that's probably like you're going to have to take your pit stop too at some point. So the Mercedes goes down the inside, probably gets on a little bit of damp spot there, can't get it fully stopped, and it runs into the McLaren, resulting in a few people spinning here. The track got really busy really quick because I came through here right at this point, gained 2 spots. But for this, it's going to be avoidable contact because per our rules, you have to make the apex if you're making that move down the inside at least. And he did not. He ran wide of the apex. He didn't get it slowed down. As you can see here, the trajectory is to off the curb, so he's not making the normal apex and makes contact. So that's going to be driver of the 53. Now, is it minor or major? Let's go look at our definitions here. Turn into apex. Drivers being passed failed to leave one car width. That's not. Driver passing fails to hit apex, causing contact without loss of control or any minor, only remaining damage. There was loss of control. The Mercedes does have like or the McLaren has a half spin there and comes to a stop. So it's not without that. So that puts it as a 2.5. Contact is made, resulting in major damage, loss of positions, and or loss of control. So we'll do 2.5. And that was with Brandon. And then Ryan had nowhere to go here and ends up making contact there. So his is just noted. I'm not going to fault anybody for the rejoins here because nobody really left the track. Like from Ryan's point of view, he really wouldn't know he had half the car off the track. He would just feel like he sat in the middle of the track, and he sees a bunch of cars in front of him, so he starts going, and then he realizes right about here that there's cars coming, so he locks it down. The Mercedes is clear on the track, so I can't fault him, and Ryan does a good job here, just kind of staying predictable and trying to get out of the way nicely, so no fault there. Just leave it as a noted. Bill. Huh. There's no contact that led to that, right? No. I think Phil was just coming out of the pits on fresh, dry tires, so he was still learning them as we were getting up to speed there. And that's what happened to Renner. That was a huge moment for me. So I'm the car appearing right on scene right as that goes through. So you go here. I had a lot of car in my windscreen. So let's walk through this just so you guys can see how to try to avoid an incident like this. So I have a lot of wheel lock in right here, but as soon as I see that that car is going to start coming, oops, that was the wrong button. So as soon as I see that that car is starting to kick across and not just slide, straight off to the outside of the track, I brake and go to the direction that the car is leaving from, because he's not going to basically come to a stop because of the ABS and all that. He's going to continue to slide to the left there. But also, don't make huge inputs. At worst, contact there would have just kind of spun. If I would have hit the back of Christian, I would have just helped him spin more. Right? So by putting my car where I put it, I didn't risk even more. Like, I would have just kind of hit him. I would have got front damage, but at least on that side of the car, I'm not going to get T-boned or T-bone the other car, which then I had to fight off Ryan straight away, which was really intense. Far chase. Not the greatest rejoin. So we'll mark that as for 20. Let's say rejoin. Okay. Patrick. The BMW is evil through that corner. So much understeer. Fix the toe. All right. So Mooney, you said I wasn't going to see you, and we said that this is going to be the one. So this is our one. So let's walk it through. At the braking zone, is there overlap? No. Mooney brakes first. There is no overlap. At turn-in, is there overlap? Very, very, very minor overlap. Not enough to say, hey, I'm going to be up the inside. And then at apex, the trajectory of the Lamborghini had it not coming. He hits the inside puddle and all that stuff. So, not on Mooney. And I think it's Bradley. He waits for it anyways, and they carry on after the incident. So, not on Mooney and on Bradley, but with the redress, it was fine. Oh, this happened right in front of me. So, in this situation, like, the battle for second is right behind him. So if we go to rear chase, you see here and here, there's the two cars coming up. And I believe he goes to the inside to get out of the way, but kind of puts his right tires into the water. And as soon as he touches the brakes, it's just going to send him. But at the same time, that was always going to make the things hard for the leaders coming through. You do have a blue flag here, so we do want to see like sportsmanship and allowing the faster cars through safely. But the nice thing to do here would be to breathe off during the straight. You let the cars go by, and then they don't have to fight you in the corner. What was going to happen here if that spin didn't happen was I was probably going to be on your outside, and I would have lost a lot of track time to the car behind me and possibly caused that battle aspect to change completely. So keep that in mind. I think this is on the last lap as well. It is. We literally come through this corner and finish the race. So what was a done and dusted battle for P2 there would have possibly changed. But let's just make sure the rejoin for this is fine. It's a big accident. Action, and then everyone comes across the line. Now, there was one other case with blue flag that I just want to go over because it did play a role as well. And this isn't a penalty. This isn't to call anybody out. It's just to highlight what was happening. Here's that battle. There. Not many laps back. Or I'm in the wrong race. Am I in the wrong race? Probably in the wrong race. Feature. Maybe not. There it is. So here, we got the battle at this point. It's for 5th and 6th or 4th and 5th, sorry, with P23 here, 4th and 5th. And we have the first car get through, but again, like I said earlier, breathe off in a straight line if you're going to make the move, because this ended up having to be a pass, which is fine. It just makes it harder for those battling for position. The contact there. But at this point, the Lamborghini here isn't part of the fight between these two cars. He's a lap back, and he continues to play in the battle. So he gets still on the inside. So he has to give him more room. He takes the spot. He keeps on running him hard all the way through this part of the lap, and this is still there. This isn't great sportsmanship. This is kind of, we do say like blue flags, please, it's not a mandatory get out of the way, but show sportsmanship. I believe it's in the actual Discord rules. So let's just go look at those real quick. And for next season, I'll amend them into the main rules. But find them here. Welcome rules. Yeah, rule number 8 for the league is lap traffic should make attempts to facilitate a pass at the earliest convenience. It is the responsibility of both drivers to make it happen cleanly. So in this case, let's try to help and allow the battle for, which in this case was ended up being P2, to go through and do that fight, and that'll be the same all the way through the field. If you're not in that battle, if you're a lap out of that battle, please show some sportsmanship and try to allow that battle to go through and continue your race. They're obviously faster than you. They've caught you. Let them go through. Try to follow them. Try to learn something. If we're doing longer races, that's a little bit of a different story, but in the sprint race kind of environment, we really need to be better with our sponsorship here and allow the battles to happen. Okay? So that is it. Next week, we are at Monza with no rain and a rolling start. That should be a pretty fun race. Monza is usually a track where the battle kind of gets lumped together because of the draft. So that should be a good race. Looking forward to it. And see you at the next one. If you can, join us on Tuesdays. The Mazda stuff is lots of fun. We are at Navarra on Tuesday. That is, I believe, free track. So come on out, give us a few more cars on that, and we'll have even more fun. We're doing pretty good. I think we have upwards of 20 showing up on some nights. So if you can join in, that'd be great. That's it. Talk to you guys later.